I'd like to welcome in right now Anthony Spate. Anthony is a furloughed federal worker in D.C. He has worked for the government for over 17 years. Anthony, first of all, thank you so much for giving us some of your time.
Thank you
Uh,
for having me.
you're furloughed right now. We do know you went to a food bank over the weekend. Talk about that experience. Did you ever think you would find yourself in this situation?
Unfortunately, I was at a food bank this weekend. I was always a person that was always providing assistance to people across the country. Never did I foresee that I would be in a position where I would possibly be, well, not possibly, but actually was in a food bank to assist, to receive assistance. So it was the first time in my life that I encountered that type of situation.
And what did you see? Describe the situation there at the food bank. Were there other families, other parents in the same situation as you? And what has this furlough been like for you?
Yes. There was a lot of families. Unfortunately, I think there was a shortage of food. There were so many people in the line that I believe that there was not enough food to accommodate all of the persons that were trying to receive assistance, which was sad to see. I never thought that I would be in a position where I would necessarily need assistance for food, but I do have a family that I have to take care of. I don't want to tap too much into my savings account, but I think that's what eventually is going to occur. All I can do is just pray and try to be a voice for the people who are voiceless at the moment. There's a lot of federal employees who are low income employees. There's a spectrum. There's employees that are high earners and there are lower earners. So there's a huge spectrum and a lot of people in between. So there's a lot of people who might need assistance during this dire time.
Yeah. So, Anthony, well, let's talk about that. I mean, because you're a furloughed federal worker. We also know that SNAP benefits for so many millions of Americans are set to run out November 1st. President Trump was asked about funding that. I'd like to listen to part of what he said.
Yeah, everybody's going to be in good shape. Yep.
All right, so the president there is saying that everyone will be in good shape. We know that the Department of Agriculture says it has a $6 billion contingency fund, but it will not be used to cover food stamps. So, those are expenses from the state that will not be reimbursed. What do you make, first of all, of what we heard there from the president? What is your message to the president? What is your message to lawmakers on both sides of the aisle as this shutdown drags on?
My message is that they need to come together and have a compromise. I believe that they have to come together and make a deal. Healthcare is very vital for the country, along with food stamps and other assistance programs. And I think as the government shutdown prolongs, there's going to be a compounding of concern and issues across the country as people deal with all of these food insecurities, deal with healthcare insecurities, deal with the federal government being shut down. I think things can possibly get much worse before they get better if there's no resolution made in the immediate future.
Anthony, as a furloughed federal worker, how does it make you feel that members of Congress are still getting their paychecks?
You know, if we're not getting paid and they're part of the government as well, I feel as if their paychecks should be withheld so that they can feel some of what we are feeling at the moment as well. I think it's only key that I think it's important that they receive the same treatment that we receive. And sometimes if they go without a paycheck, then they can understand the concerns that their employees are receiving in regards to making sure that we can provide childcare for our children and provide food for our kids and things of that nature. I think if they're put in the same position that we're in, that they will have a much better way of understanding our concerns and our issues.
And, some furloughed employees right now are doing gig work, turning to Uber, DoorDash, things like that to try to just bring in some extra income. We know the holidays are truly right around the corner. Already, we're at the second longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Are you making a long-term plan if this continues?
At the moment, I'm just in a wait and see situation. I will look at other avenues if the need arises. But I am prayerful and I am hopeful that the country will get past this and that our members of Congress and the members in the Senate and so forth will be able to come to some type of resolution to resolve all the issues at hand.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.